CRPN Central, this is Dr. Fox. Please like, comment, subscribe. It helps the mission more than you know so that I can do more for you. Welcome to another Monday, everyone. Happy August. Happy mid-August. I'm so excited. So excited. It's birthday week for the family, so we've got birthday parties to celebrate. We've got all kinds of fun things that we've got planned. We've got things in the mail. Check this out. This will come in later. As I told you before, so CRPN we're exhibiting at SCRS Global this year. So stoked. We've got an exhibit hall or an exhibit booth and everything, but we've got a different kind of swag for those of you who want to participate. We have a board game. So I just got all of the cards in place for the conference. So we have the business card on one side, and we have a game card on the other. So if you want to come by the booth and you want to really feel how it feels to negotiate in the industry as a site, a sponsor, or a CRO, come by the booth. And I don't know, we're going to make it kind of competitive. I think we're going to have a prize, and hopefully we're all going to learn and experience something. So come get your negotiation swag experience at SCRS Global. It's like 6 weeks, everyone. 6 weeks. What are you going to do in 6 weeks? If you're not going to SCRS and you're part of this industry, I highly recommend you consider going to SCRS. There's going to be a lot of people there, and we'll talk about on the other slide. So welcome to TrialSide Chats, the place where we can come together as a CRPN community and as a research industry so we can talk about the challenges that we have in finance. We can go over the best practices. We can hopefully support everyone so that we can all be successful in the industry. CRPN, free to join for sites, really affordable for sponsors and CROs, some of the best services in the industry. Highly recommend you check it out. There's my plug. Let's go into TrialSide Chats. Full disclaimer, I am not a lawyer, never said I was a lawyer. This is the culmination of experiences as a result of being in this industry. Please take this at your own risk, listen at your own risk, make choices at your own risk. And by continuing this video, you have agreed to this disclaimer. All right, thanks so much. So ground rules. We're going to talk about anything finance, sensitive subject. It's got to be confidential. We're not going to name names. We're not going to point fingers. We're not going to talk about organizations. We're only talking about concepts so we can target best practices so that everyone has an understanding of what we each need to succeed. All right. Hey, it's a record, everyone. 3 minutes. We got through that beginning. Icebreaker. If you've been around the industry long enough, you'll see that there's a hashtag flying around called sites have rights. That's right. That's a hashtag that I put together years ago. I've got a number of LinkedIn posts with that hashtag on it, talking about the challenges that our sites have in the industry, the challenges that they face. Sometimes they're in the middle of so many miscommunications layered on top of each other that it becomes super duper insanely frustrating for everyone involved. I wanted to bring that up again. So if you've ever hashtag searched sites have rights, you're going to see that it's in a lot of LinkedIn posts, and you're going to see that there's a lot of big frustrations out there. But I really want to say that sites have rights is more of a statement like, I do believe that the quote rights of sites have been encroached. I think that there are so many different stakeholders in the industry that sometimes they don't even realize that they are encroaching on those rights. And I also believe that sites, you have to understand what those rights should be so that you can be a better site. When these rights are compromised, you lose your ability to serve your patients, your sponsors, and nobody's happy. Nobody. So don't think of it as like sites rise up. I've heard of people say that. Don't think of it like a site union. I just want it to be very clear that it's designed to have an understanding of sites' needs so they can better serve everyone in the industry, because the site is the cornerstone of the industry. All right. So we're going to talk about our continuing journey through the book. This is the book. It is on Amazon. You can purchase it on Amazon, or if you want to give me a call, send me a message. We're happy to want to buy it directly from CRPN. We can give you 10% off, and we can give you free shipping on Amazon, or we can give you free shipping. All right. So publication alert. A lot of what you're seeing here, the culmination of everything that we've been putting together. This is episode 27. So for like 30 episodes worth of content here, a lot of what this is it came together to generate the data for this peer-reviewed publication. So it's an effort to create best practice recommendations for the industry, so that any site anywhere can have free content. They can look at the paper, read it, develop it to be their own, and then that site can survive in the industry. I started I started over in IP manufacturing. We were creating the therapeutic drugs. We were creating the capsules and the tablets. But when I went into a site world, I was a director of a site for a very long time. And when you're new to the industry, everyone, and you're like in the middle of nowhere, if you're in like a rural area, or sometimes even if you're in a city, you're like sometimes the only type of professional who's in clinical research, and you feel very alone. You feel like it's literally you against the world. And I don't want that to ever happen again. So that's why we have the YouTube channels. That's why we have the publications. That's why we have the textbook. That's why we give the sites as many resources as possible, whether it's paid, it's free, it's a service. I want every site out there to know that you have a lifeline. You will never, ever be alone in this industry, but I know that you need to know about it before that. And I'm working on that. So that's why we're going to the conference. We're going to be doing a lot of outreach and awareness. If you have site friends who are running through challenges and problems, have them give me a call. That's the whole point of CRPN. We want our sites to succeed. So please, 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 let's come together, have a look at the paper, take a look at the textbook, and let's all come together and make a better industry. All right, so we are in the phase 2 process. This is trial management. So we're managing the finances. The contract's over, pre-study's over. We're in the weeds, everyone. We have accrued things. We have marked it as booked revenue. We have generated invoices if we had to. We have this big giant list of things that are now owed to the site because the site just crushed it. They did absolutely wonderfully. But something's not right. Things aren't working out the way they should be. Things that should have been paid are not. And so now we have to enter the world of aging. That's right, aging. It's not fun. And it's pretty much, got to put on your bill collector hat and work it every single month, but you have to do it. And there are so many different benefits of aging that we'll be going over this episode to explain that it's not just the where's my money conversation. There's so much more about aging. So aging is kind of like, well, duh, Dr. Fox. I mean, in a perfect world, we are in a contractual relationship where even in the contract, it says the site signs the contract plus the site does the work equals the site gets paid. It's that simple, right? I mean, it's just we do work, we get paid, done. It's unfortunately not that simple. And aging is a critical part of this ecosystem to make sure that your finances are healthy. And we'll talk about that. So, in essence, aging is the process of managing money that is owed to a site according to how old it is. And we define old by what the contractual terms and provisions are. In other words, we did all this work. When are we supposed to get paid versus where are we now? And therefore, how old is this money? So what? Aging. So what? I'm just a giant bill collector. That's boring. I don't want to have these conversations. It's a waste of time. Well, it's not. So a couple of things is you have to create an aging culture in your site where aging the finances is just as important as sending an invoice or as remitting. And there's a number of reasons. Number one is it holds for accountability. Oh, sure, Dr. Fox, I can send emails all day long, but the CRO will never, ever pay their bill. Yeah, I know. But guess what you have now? You have a paper trail. We have sent you these 5 emails over the past 5 months, every single month asking you what's wrong. We have been trying to talk to you. We have been trying to reconcile this. You are building a paper trail to show that you as a site are trying to work in good faith. It's a key word, everyone, good faith, with the sponsor to help to fulfill the financial obligations of the contract. So, I mean, aging works. You send an email and it might be a week, it might be 2 weeks, but someone's going to respond to you. And as a result, you are going to be maintaining a level of accountability with the people that you are providing services to. It helps you to troubleshoot. Sometimes aging equals problems. If you have super duper old money, it may be by design sometimes, but odds are there's something wrong. So it helps you to troubleshoot and identify maybe there's something in your processes, maybe there's something that you have to do as far as sending a form, whatever it is, you're troubleshooting your financial systems by identifying what is old and therefore what is wrong in your finance process. It also allows a layer of QA. So um, time and time again, it's so cool. Once you really have an aging system down, once your average age on your finances, you have like very, very few of your line items are late or outstanding. You're actually to a point where you are identifying things sometimes even before a CRA does. We have done that in finance where, hey, this isn't paid. What's going on? This isn't paid. What's going on? And finally, the finance team over at CRO World comes back and they say, well, it was never in the EDC. How are we supposed to know that we're supposed to pay it? It's not in the EDC. And we're like, well, I don't understand this. So we go talk to the CRC. Sure enough, there was something not in the EDC. It wasn't entered. But guess what? It went through like 3 monitoring visits since then. The CRA didn't even catch it. So it's another set of eyes that help for QA to support CRAs and to support for better monitoring visits and therefore rapid and high quality data for our trials. And finally, it's a health metric. So if you look at your aging and something's super old or something's missing or whatever it might be, it helps you to understand how healthy your site is. How rapid are you recycling through your cash flow? How rapid are you creating it? Old money is not good. So health metrics as far as aging, it kind of helps you to keep a finger on the pulse of your site to see how you're doing. So it's really, really important to know that as far as aging goes, the quote old money, in other words, the older the money is, the more expensive it is because you have to spend money to chase that money. So if you have like an invoice that is a year old, if you're working aging, that means that you went through 11 months of sending emails and follow-ups and including team members and trying to troubleshoot and figuring out. It's 11 months of time for that invoice. And what if that invoice is only worth like 20 bucks? Odds are you just spent more money than what the invoice is worth. And so now it's a sunken cost syndrome. What are you going to do? So it's super duper important to keep your aging way low as possible, and to try to get it paid almost as soon as you can. Get the thing fixed, get whatever it is, get it off the books, because old money equals expensive money, and odds are you're just paying to chase it now. So really important. I love this graph on page 126 of the book. Really talks about how the process of aging can devalue your payments to a point where you're actually paying to do it. Okay, so we have some examples of aging here. So we have the first item, visit 3. It looks like it was due in September, and we haven't hit September yet, so it's minus 15 days. That means that it's not due yet. The sponsor and CRO still have 15 days to the contractual obligation, so it's not a big deal. That's healthy aging. It just means that's unpaid, and it's expected to be unpaid. It's supposed to be like that. Invoice number 15 looks like it was due in July, and we have aging on it. So we're 15 days late. Well, so 15 days late, it's honestly standard in the industry. Maybe the check's in the mail. Maybe it's going through CRO QA. Maybe they're working on it. Maybe they're going to process it on their next cycle, is what they call it. So I'm not too worried about 15 days. Odds are if you get it to 30 or if you get it to 60 days, you're in trouble, but I think you're still okay. It's up to your site. If you want to try to follow up on a 15-day old invoice, you can, but odds are it's already in the process of being paid. It's still under process. Now, if you get past 60 days old, and by 60 days old, I mean you had a due date, and then after that due date, it's been 2 months, which means you're 60 days late, that or more, odds are there's something wrong. There's something wrong with the aging. Someone has not processed it. Maybe the CRO didn't tell you that you're missing information. Maybe they didn't tell you that the invoice is wrong, because CROs aren't going to volunteer to you a mistake until the invoice is old. It helps them to keep the money longer. That's just from my experience. That's just what happens. You're not going to get a CRO to volunteer a problem for you in the time that the payment should be processed in their 30-day window, 60-day window. It's always after the fact, always. But in this case, like, we had a screening visit and it was January of 2025. This is 592 days old. There's something wrong with that. Something super wrong with that. So if you see that on your aging line, you better be like, okay, I need to start troubleshooting this. There's so many things we need to check out on this. You can go internal, you can go external, and then finally you can go reach out and say, hey, this is old, it's on the books, and we need to figure out what to do with it. So why wasn't this paid? And then you start to do all of your investigating work and your troubleshooting. So that was one. So you have your list of line items, the visit, the invoice, the screening visit. So, one little at a time. That's your accrual. So that is the raw accrual, everything that happened with a due date, and then how old it is. So that can actually get refined and rebundled into a definition. And for me, I always just think of black and white. It's either unpaid, which means that the sponsor hasn't paid it, but that's okay because the contract says that they have time, or it's outstanding. So that's the first thing that I do, is I just separate into those two things. If it's outstanding and it's late, then it's late. Now, a lot of sites like to see how old things are. They like to break it apart a little bit more. And so you're going to see in a lot of systems and CTMS and things like that, you're going to see it start being broken out into a number of days late. And oftentimes it's that 0 to 30 mark. So it's like we're in about a month late, and that's okay. Normally that's what CROs need to process. 31 to 89 days. Sometimes that's broken apart into another section with 60 days. So that's like, okay, this stuff's old and it shouldn't be old. It should have been paid by now. Something's off, but we could still give a little bit of grace. Like, let's just say the CRO tries to default quarterly payments, even if they're not supposed to. Okay, but still not right, not good. And then finally, there's just the 90 plus days. If you're like 90 days old, then something's just wrong. The CRO has just disputed it. They've rejected it. They've opted not to pay it. There's some reason why something is that old is wrong. And so when you start to bin it into those categories, first unpaid and outstanding, and then how outstanding the payments are, then you can start to look at the health of the site. I love to equate aging and outstanding revenue versus unpaid revenue as like the labs for a research site finance. This is like you take labs for a patient and you're looking at the labs and you're seeing values, something's off, right? Ooh, this level's way high. This is bad. So we need to try to figure out what's going on. We need to intervene. For me, aging is just like taking labs for a site. I can look at this and say, whoa, you have like a ton of outstanding revenue. In this case, your ratio of unpaid to outstanding is insane. You're owed like $500,000 on this slide that is outstanding. It should have been in your bank by now, and it's not. Something's wrong, and we need to look into that. The other option is seeing how old it is. And the other option in this case is identifying what is aged for autopay versus what is aged for invoicing. So there's another dynamic that you can look at when you're pulling aging to understand what's going on. Obviously, if your autopay is super duper outstanding, what's the number one thing that is probably wrong? Well, most autopay is visits. So if you're not getting your autopay visits, then either it was mislabeled and it should have been an invoice and sent, or your EDC is wrong. Something is wrong in the EDC that is preventing that payment from triggering and getting sent automatically. If your invoices are super outstanding and late, then there's a number of other things that could be going on. One of the number one reasons is, of course, the wrong email address. You're not sending your invoice to the right email. You're not sending it to the right person. Another thing is formatting. And another thing is invoices are not controlled. And we talked about that on the last episode about how invoices, some sites just willy-nilly send invoices without looking at the contract. Of course, they're not going to get paid. That wasn't part of the deal. So it's really, really important to make sure that your invoice processes are in place. Remember what I said last time, so that you can have really good and active, healthy aging in the future. It's also with the file naming, by the way, for all of my nomenclature friends out there. So you got to age. You got to work aging. Okay. And this is one of the number one reasons aging, why the portal is terrible. Okay. So portals do not allow you to age your finances very well. The key to aging is an email. And a lot of people send this automatically. If you're in like an accounting software is really, really good at just scheduling email reminders. Hey, this is old. We were just in one of the accounting softwares, and they have AI to adjust AI to how aggressive you want to be on your follow-up when someone's late. It's getting really, really cool for aging. But it's really important to send emails. Either click a button in an accounting software and automatically sends the reminder, or you're going to have to go into an email address and send an email to try to tell someone that this is late. So email subject reminder is your friend. You need to adopt a format that sponsors and CROs will respond to. Odds are they have an AI bot reading their AI, or a filter or something reading through it and assigning this email to certain things like a ticketing system. So, pick something in the beginning, late payments, late, whatever, and then make sure that you identify the sponsor, the protocol ID, the PI's last name, and the site number in your subject line. If you do that, then the CRO can rapidly look up what the heck's going on with your payments, and they can help you. And you can just create or craft your own little cordial email. Dear sponsor CRO, this item was sent on this date. It's due in, so in this case, it was sent in January. It's due in February, and it's now X number of days late. It's super important to point out to them how critical it is and how non-compliant they are in their finances. Hey, this is, if you sit there and say this is 1 day late, they're going to look at that and be like, dude, chill, we're on it. But if you're over on here and you say, oh, this is 370 days late, it's been over a year, what's going on? They can look at that and say, okay, I can see why they're frustrated, because they should have been paid, but they're not. I'll look into this. So then they'll look into it. Depending on who this email goes to, it's also good to identify not only the number of days late, but you could also do some kind of a cumulative dollar value. It's X number of days late. This trial owes us $300,000. So is there a problem? And so I really like the term, how can we help you to get your account current? In other words, I'm here to help, and the account is not current, but I want to work with you so we can fix things. That is the good faith that we're talking about. So you're working in good faith just to try to get things finished, to try to get things up to par, so you can continue your contractual obligations with the sponsor. Multiply this by, normally you can do this email format, do it once a month per trial. So if for every trial, once a month. So here's all of the invoiceables, here's all of the auto pay visits, here's how late they are, and what's going on. How can I help? And big shout out to the sponsors and CROs, the ones that I've worked with as far as aging goes. They have really cool representatives out there that are willing to sit here and work with you to try to figure out what's going on. And a lot of the times, it could be a miscommunication. A lot of times it's an EDC thing. But whatever it is, it's really cool to be cordial and to feel that connection with your collaborators so you know that you're both after the same thing, and that's quality and good contracts. So you're going to send the emails, and then all of a sudden you're going to say, okay, well, what's going on? You're going to get an email back from them, and they're going to say, oh, well, it wasn't paid because. And I'm pretty sure I've heard almost all of the different kinds of things that we could have said. Most of the time, if it's an auto pay that is late, there's some kind of an EDC error or gap. And I say gap for a reason. So sites can only do so much. They can enter data into the EDC, but the EDC is not designed to follow the contract. So I've seen this on unscheduled visits, specifically unscheduled visits that are prior to randomization and screen fails. Well, EDC buries those entries. Either they bury the entries so the person looking at the EDC has to dig a little bit to find them, or they bury the ability to enter that information, or the EDC was not configured to collect that information, which means that now we're in a situation where a contract does say that something is owed, but the EDC does not allow for its entry. Therefore, when a site sends an invoice for like a screen fail and the payment person looks in the EDC, they're not going to see the entry because the EDC doesn't allow for that entry. So now we're in this giant conflict between EDC and contractual obligation. It happens all the time. A lot of times this wasn't entered into the EDC. Go contact the coordinator. Coordinator says, hey, sorry about that. I had a busy week. I'll go ahead and get it fixed now. It goes in the EDC. The payment triggers. Next month, you'll have the money. Sometimes it's incorrect invoicing. This happens a lot when a sponsor changes, like they change CROs, or the contract that you're referencing doesn't exactly have like the address that you should be using anymore because there's some kind of an amendment, or they change CROs and there's this thing that was missed, so the invoice is incorrect. It may not have the right contractual information. Like maybe it's missing due dates, or it's missing some kind of a service date that sponsors and CROs won't tell you about until it's too late. Sometimes the sites that just do willy-nilly invoices have unperformed services. We're going to have to like write those off. Maybe they were in the EDC because a button was clicked or is misprogrammed. So those things are going to have to get removed or adjusted off of the accrual. There's always calculation errors. It's all, so my favorite one, it's always been the CROs say, I'm sorry, we're just so busy. We're updating our systems. But we are understaffed. We had people not show up. So there's a lot of reasons for aging that CRO representatives put in. That's a result of the CRO infrastructure that can't sustain the needs of the invoices. So that's, I feel for you CROs, but at the same time, on a contractual level, that was not a reason for a delay in payment. That's an infrastructure thing. That would be kind of like the site sitting here saying, oh, I'm so sorry, CRO, our CRCs are slammed and we just can't do the work that we promised anymore because we don't have the infrastructure to do it. What do you think would happen there? I think that we can put the two pieces together. All right. Super quick episode. We're at the 30-minute mark. Excellent work, everyone. So we have just finished aging. We, hey, where's my money? Hey, where's my money? Where's my money? Where's my money? So we're done being the pushy person who needs the money, who's trying to, troubleshoot things. Next week, we are going to talk about the follow-up to aging. And we kind of touched on it a little bit, but we're going to do a complete deep dive into disputes and escalations as a result of sending invoices and aging revenue. This is where you fight. So we'll see how it goes. I would love to hear stories, everyone. I would love to hear if you have stories that you'd like to talk about a successful dispute or a successful escalation, or what's better, what about an escalation that we could de-escalate by saying the right things or being polite and cordial enough so that everyone receives what they needed as a result without the conflict. That is the art of managing finance in the industry. So Um, Again, board game SCRS, October 15th through 17th, Orlando, Florida. Link is at the bottom. Come see us at booth number 920. Collect your negotiation swag. Who is going to be the ultimate negotiator at SCRS? I know there's some really talented people out there, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do and how they want to negotiate with this game. Please come by the booth. Pretty please. I look forward to laughing about some of the negotiations that are going to happen. I know we've had fun with it. CRPN, free for sites to join, affordable for sponsors and CROs. We're here to serve our communities, want to make sure that every patient who can access clinical research and who needs to access clinical research will. There is the website, there's LinkedIn, there's YouTube, there's any possible way you'd like to reach out, join CRPN, be a part of the conversation. This is Dr. Fox. Please like, comment, subscribe, share your voice. See you next time.